I am with John Noctor. We have been involved in the last couple of years in putting together our workshops. John has been building that for us. Lots of stuff that we're doing out there, and we just thought we'd have a little bit of a chat about some of those topics. Problem management.
Yeah,
What the hell is why do organisations, why can't they do it? What's the problem with it?
Great question, and we'll try and answer it in just a few minutes, shall we? I think that problem management is never an ethos issue. It's never why should we do it. You know, no organisation loves incidents so much they don't want to stop them happening. The issue I think you have is around resourcing, because typically IT organisations can be still in that break-fix mode. The issue is around tooling to support some of the decision making, and of course the data, as you know, you talk about this a lot, the data that we use to make those decisions upon, because it's reliant upon quality. And I think they're the sort of three areas for me: tools, data, resource.
When you say resources, because I mean that is a sort of pet of mine, which is that, yeah, okay, so it's going to be difficult to say, right, well, let's put people onto this. But it's also about having the right kind of skill set, isn't it? And the right kind of attitude, I suppose, the right kind of competence to do it. It's not just a process monkey job.
No, I think you're right, and I think one of the things we need to think about is that there will be people in your organisation who are naturally more aligned to problem management. You know, it is, to an extent, it's the people that like to put the headphones on and really pop the hood on an issue, and I think they're the sort of people linked to problem management, because it's not everybody's bag. You know, and we could argue that problem management to an extent can be anybody's role in the organisation, but actually it suits some people more than others, because we need to put the right people in the right place. There are people that are naturally very quick fixers, the sort of true frontline people. Why would you take those away to make them do a level of analysis they're not comfortable with?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree. There's those people who need to do the kind of analytical stuff and maybe the more detailed fixing. I also think there's the sort of project type, the person who is a fixer, who needs to get people, something falls between two teams and nobody picks up. So you need somebody to go, right, well, I'm going to get you together and lock you in a room, or I need to get a decision. And it's not necessarily about being a technical or a detail. It's somebody who just wants to get things done.
Yeah, and I think what you often find is, you're right. I mean, facilitation is really, I think, probably the word we're looking there. You're going to be dealing with multiple stakeholders, to use that word. I think it's fairly rare for problem management to only exist, the actual answer to exist in one finite point. Often it's quite nebulous, because the problem by its nature will pull in multiple areas, and someone who can pull those together. But the other thing to think about is problem management is, you often, if you've got that person as a facilitator, they have to negotiate time for people who don't report to them and are busy. So how that person, if you're timid, shy, I'm not sure I want to really sort of disturb people, probably not the person to be running your problem management.
Absolutely. So it's somebody who's got a bit of emotional intelligence, a bit of gumption, as we say.
Negotiations.
Yeah, absolutely. Who can get things done with people, an influencer. It's not just you follow a process, you tick a box.
Yep.
It's somebody who's going to be able to do all those things. What about then the sorts of elements that we might be looking for, the sorts of things? I mean, I always like to say to people, what's your top 10 problems across your organisation? Getting that stuff out, visible. What else can we do practically to make problem management work?
Well, I think, once again, it links back to an extent to data, but actually it also links back to one of the dangers we have with data is an assumption on what's important to the business, because we end up looking very much at sort of volume-based traffic rather than pain-based traffic.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that we think about is that are we asking the right people the right questions? Do you have the ability to ask people the questions? Because if you think you've got a problem manager in place, are they stepping on service level management toes, business relationship management toes? And actually they're going to have to ask questions of these people and of the business that says, what's actually meaningful to you? What's your pain points?
So I mean that then includes relationship management, service level management in the old money, but it's just about getting people together, isn't it? And being able to do that, and as you say, doing that outside of your defined paywall.
Well, you are, because you're dealing with senior people as well. Often, I'm not saying that you wouldn't look at all levels of the organisation, because one of the other things we need to think about in problem management is, have you got the top-down commitment to your role within problem management? Because if not, you're trying to get time from people where you might need the backing from your CTO, your CIO, whether it might be to try and get you some access there. And I think that sort of visibility, if your CTO, your CIO is out there preaching a bit of this as well, it opens the door for you.
And on the tooling side, I mean, there's I suppose problem management has been in a lot of the ITSM tools for a long time. Challenge, I think, is getting good, back to data, getting good reporting that allows you to see trends, allows you to come up with things. And that, I suppose that should be there with most of the tools already. It's just more how you actually configure them in the first place so that you get good stuff coming out. I mean, you work with several vendors. You must know that to be a challenge.
I think it absolutely is. I mean, one of the dangers you can find is that we can very quickly become data rich and information poor in our world. We also, I use this term with our clients all the time, is that there's a tendency to have your reporting based upon what I call volume-based metrics. How much of this have I got? And all that is a volume. There's no, you've got to be able to articulate data in a way that you can make a decision upon it. So when we look at ITSM tooling, it sounds sort of fairly twee, but before you start to put this thing together, what do you want out of it? Because that gets down to the configuration, but you've got to make those decisions. They'll always evolve, but you need to make the decisions early, before. Don't start building out these systems. Think about data, think about, can you make a decision based upon the information you're capturing? And then if you can, then it starts to make the difference.
I would go even further. I would say that we shouldn't be producing any reporting that doesn't help us to make decisions.
Correct.
It should be there to do that. If it's not delivering that, why are we doing it?
Yeah, and we also need to think about that one of the dangers is for tooling is we can start to work in isolation. We'll always start with designing out the incident management module and the process, and that might look quite good, but actually, if you're looking at organisational level decisions and what matters to the business, incident management will be key, request fulfillment will be key, linking to your services, into change, into release, whatever it might be, all these start to come together. So we've got to think about always having our eye on the bigger picture and not being siloed within a process.
Absolutely. So just one other thing I suppose then is around, so we talked about resourcing and skills, capabilities, about tools, data. There is also this thing about visibility, transparency, that the more you can make things visible for problems, the better chance you've got of getting them solved. Is that something that you agree with, or have you come across good examples of that?
Yeah, I've seen this. It was something we did probably 20 years ago at the National Grid. Is we would make it part of our team meetings, and everybody had a voice. Didn't matter if you were the team administrator, you were the HR person, you were second level techie in networks, whatever it might be. Make these visible. And maybe, one of the things that I find with organisations, we talk about that our users, to use that term, log incidents and requests, and the problem bit seems to be hidden behind the IT walls. Well, why? Why don't you publish out what problems you're working on and see actually if there's valid information from even out in your customer and the user base. Not saying they'll always interact with you, but why wouldn't you make it visible? Because it moves you away from that break fix into saying, actually, we're not going to accept a status quo that things go wrong. We are, shows you the value.
I mean, there's the current trendy word is swarming. But I mean, it's been around, and there's some value in that as well. So, okay, so we need to sort of have the right people, the right kind of skills. It's more of a competency-based, aptitude-based role than just a sort of flat process.
It's an IT mindset that we need to have. That's the key.
Absolutely, and a big picture mindset, and somebody who's not afraid to maybe be unpopular, just to get the right thing done.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to be clear on data. We need to have good reporting, and visibility helps. So.
And one of the key things is make sure that the value and the success that problem management brings is publicised.
Yeah.
It's not just suddenly incidents are disappearing. Publicise the difference that problem management is making, because then it starts to build that belief and it becomes sort of self-fulfilling in terms of that access, that resource, that commitment, that mindset. One of the dangers we have is problem management can be a bit in the background, and we should be publishing out the value of it and what we've achieved.
Absolutely. And we've got lots more detail around this in our workshops that we do, but there you go, in about 10 minutes, problem management. Thanks, John.
Pleasure.